evening. I'm Cathy Novicky, and I am co-founder of Champions Over Cancer. This is day 4 of my 90-day challenge. It is Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day to everyone and to the troops everywhere that support and protect us, as well as comrades who have come before them. Tonight, my title is The Start of the Vision of Champions Over Cancer. During my acute treatment, as I believe I've stated before, I was a survivor. When you're going through chemotherapy, surgeries, radiation, you are just trying to get by day, living through unbelievable hardships. And during that acute treatment phase, you have a team that surrounds you that you would not believe how many people get involved, either professionally, personally, family, friends. You have a very large support group. But once that you're considered cancer-free, that group, that support system dwindles very, very quickly. Professionally, the numbers are narrowed down because you've been through the acuteness of it, and now you're considered cancer-free, and so you just have the support and the physicians that will follow you in your cancer-free follow-ups in the months and years to come. And your family and friends, while they don't really do this on purpose, it's very unconscious. They see that you're through the acute phase. They see you starting to get better, and so they drift back to the lives that they had, that some of them put on hold while they were helping you. And they don't recognize that even though you're starting to look, your hair's starting to grow back in, and you don't look as gaunt anymore, and perhaps you're returning to work, you're not better. You still physically are, for lack of a better word, there are physical aspects that are not totally healed, or I don't like to use the word normal, and mentally and emotionally, you've just been through the worst experience, most likely, of your life. It was for mine. And so what happens is that it creates this isolation where you've been surrounded and supported by all these people, and now you're alone. And it takes a while to get back, for me it did, to get back into the workforce due to the fact that I'm a registered nurse. And so therefore I work 12-hour shifts. The work is physically difficult, and mentally you have to be sharp, you have to be on your game, and emotionally you're nowhere ready to deal with ill people because you're still feeling ill. So it creates this sense of isolation that is totally overwhelming. The other areas in your life that have been affected by this block of time that you didn't work, you weren't paid, the lack of income, I have found so many issues that relate to a long-term illness that the medical community does not address. They just don't do it. And the medical the surgical and the oncology societies, they support looking into these issues. They actually have legislation and regulatory rules that that they put on hospitals to address these things in order to be accredited by Medicare and Medicaid, but it's just lip service. They don't really, unless you're in a big, you know, a big hospital settings that have survivorship clinics, it's very hard to find what you need unless you're willing to call a 1-800 number and talk to a volunteer who has been trained to speak with patients but doesn't have all of the answers. So this began my 3 years of research into this exact issue. Issues that weren't being addressed by the healthcare community, and how could we find ways to connect individuals with services or experts that they could work with to close the gap, to end the chapter of their life that they want to put away. You never truly put it away, but unless you deal with some of these outliers, you can't move forward. And this is what I was not finding. And I was very very disappointed in the healthcare community and the healthcare community that I work in. Because when I work, I give 110%. And it was always my belief that other areas and other departments, etc., did the same, because we all wanted the best for patients, for their outcomes. But maybe I was naive, but I wasn't seeing it. And I didn't see it as the patient being on the other side of the bed rail. Woo. And this made me very, very angry. So it felt like there was this subcategory, this population in the cancer community that was being totally neglected. And there are, at this moment, today, because tomorrow probably will be different, in the United States, there are 13 million cancer survivors. Now I know I've said that I hate that word, but there are times that I have to use it. So in the U.S., there's 13 plus million cancer survivors. In the whole world, there are over 30 million survivors of cancer. So why hasn't anyone else recognized this? I'm not putting it out there to say, why didn't you do this to the general population? Shame on healthcare for not being better guardians of this subgroup. So, as I said, I thought, and I continue to think, that it is a neglect. And the reason why healthcare communities don't do it is because A, it's very time consuming, because it's got to be individualized, and I told you the numbers of individuals. It's very labor intensive, and guess what? They don't get paid for it. all comes down to the bottom line, money. So that prompted me to do something about it, because I thought this is unacceptable. Unacceptable to me, especially because I've been on both sides of the bed rail, working and as a patient. And it gives you a much larger appreciation of both sides of it, the good and the bad. So if healthcare wasn't going to help these millions of individuals, then Champions Over Cancer, the idea was born. And it wasn't boom, it wasn't created overnight, but it started as a way to address the needs of cancer-free patients and to educate the public as to what is not going on to help individuals, close the circle, whatever you want, however you want to say it, however you describe it, to find closure and to move forward. So we are here, Champions Over Cancer, and we will continue to do that. As I've said in past posts, we've also evolved into to take on other areas, but this was my first area because it was very personal. And so we're out there, we want to educate the public, because the bottom line is that 1 out of 7 women in their lifetime will develop breast cancer. And therefore, someday you might need this service. So, it's just a little tidbit to chew on. I hope you never, never, never have to deal with it. Progress in diagnostics, earlier treatment, and better technology has allowed people who have cancer to live longer. But now that living longer side, that cancer-free side, is tipping the scale, and it has to be addressed. And whether it's going to be addressed now or it's going to be addressed in the future, it has to be addressed. And we at Champions Over Cancer have taken it upon ourselves to start having the conversations, to start trying to help individuals line them up with experts or services that will help them to to close the gap, or whatever I called it before, and to start to move forward. And that's the second aspect that I've talked about before. So I'll stop rambling, and I'll just say that, yes, this is my passion. My passion because as a nurse, I care for people. They're not patients, they're people in those beds. They're not just numbers. And when they become cancer-free, they're not just numbers. They're still people. They're individuals. And one day it might be you, it might be a loved one, a family friend, and if we can make a dent in changing the culture of this the culture of this sub-community in the overall cancer community, then it will be that much easier on future individuals. So please join me in getting the word out. I've been finding that education, speaking about it, talking about it is really the starting point, because people, if they've never lived in it, they don't understand it, and even if they've never lived in it and don't understand it, they still have knowledge of, you know, all the things that they hear about, the, you know, the walk for life and et cetera, et cetera. And please, I am not demeaning those efforts, because they serve a different purpose. But my purpose is to serve on the side of the people who have become cancer-free, because sooner or later, all those people that were diagnosed are going to become, hopefully, will become cancer-free. So, thank you for listening to me ramble, and please check out the web page, Champions Over Cancer. Check on Amazon for my book, Cloudy with a Chance of Cancer, my husband's book, Oh No, Not the Boobs, and we have a YouTube page that holds all of these lives, and one of my speeches from Toastmasters. And we also are starting to have small group meetings for support, to add some lightheartedness, some fun into this area of your life, because you've been through hell and back, and to learn to love and live life fuller. We got to start somewhere. So please join us. Read this, share it with your friends, like us, and follow us, and we're on a journey, you know. You got to take one step at a time, and this is the first step. So I'll say good night, happy Memorial Day, and peace.